We are live and welcoming you to Workshop Wednesday. And today we're actually going to talk about something that is a function of QuickBooks, and a good time saver. We're going to talk about reclassifying transactions, because we've noticed in a couple of the Facebook groups that we're a part of that has been that's been one of the answers to actually being able to help with that, because we've all had cleanup jobs and things like that where you have to go back and resort what things were classified to. So we thought we'd do a little workshop on how do you do that in QuickBooks. So Carrie's going to talk about the desktop side of things, but we'll talk about some other things that aren't necessarily tools, but just techniques, tips and tricks, as Carrie loves to say.
My favorite term.
So have you had a situation where you've had to batch reclassify transactions? With your vast experience, decades.
Yes. And what did I used to do? I'd fix each one. I'd find them. I'd manually fix them. Would take hours. So, and it's usually cleaning up. Commonly, you want to clean up the book so you can look at profit and loss better. You might have inconsistencies between different admin teams. Someone might call something auto expense, but you really want to know what's the gas and the repairs and maintenance and so forth. So I've gone back even behind myself where I might change the methodology, and it's not necessarily going to mess up my balance sheet, but I just want the P&L right, so that when I'm comparing last year to this year, I know that I can look at the granular of an auto expense to see if it's the gas that went up or down, or the repairs that went up and down and stuff like that. So I find the tool helpful in that area. It gets a little hairy when you're touching the balance sheet and item codes. So
okay, so the biggest tool, and this happened to me as well when I was doing this in QuickBooks Online. I had set up my the Cub Scout pack that I was the Cub Master for in QuickBooks Online, and we were doing things with classes with regards to the popcorn sales and dues and things like that. And I was like you, I was going through each one by one and going, oh man, I wish there was a
easier way.
There is a tool. And it's called the Reclassify tool, and it's only available for accountants. So it's in desktop as well as online. Originally they took it pixel for pixel from desktop and put it in QuickBooks Online, but now they look vastly different. So we wanted to kind of go and show what this tool actually looks like in both versions. So Carrie, if you want to share your screen.
It's my turn already? Okay.
Yeah.
1 second.
Well, ladies first.
Okay.
At least I didn't say age before beauty.
Yep. Okay. Hang on 1 second. I was expecting more of our banter, so hold on 1 second.
If you want, okay. I could go.
I'm going first. Nope.
Okay.
All right. I got to hit the share screen button. Okay. So I do want to shout out a couple things about the desktop version that changed over the years that some people aren't even aware of. No longer can we sell Accountant Edition for our customers. So the way they fixed that was you can access those accountant tools inside of the, is it just the Enterprise Edition? I might have to follow up on that. Premier as well?
It's all versions, Pro, Premier. Okay. You just log into the accountant tools, but you have to be a Desktop Pro advisor in order to do that.
Right. So make sure you've got your paid subscriptions, right? Because they probably sync that. If not, they will someday. So have that active. As you notice on my version, you can see the accountant menu right there. So you won't see the accountant menu when you're logged into your customer's data file. But if you are set up as external accountant and you're a paid pro advisor, you will have in your company file, there's a place where you have accountant tools. I can't show that because mine is an accountant edition, but it gives you all these same kind of tools that we have. So when you go in to accountant, you have all these different areas, and where we're focusing is down here under the data review. Under that, the reclassified transactions, that seems to be where people are getting, we have massive changes. It's one thing to have one little change here and there, but these are where you had an admin person just get lazy and call everything auto instead of the way I do it, where I want to know what's gas. So you go into this tool, and what's nice is I could just look up, the vendor Exxon. I know that's gas, and I can reclassify them real fast.
Good idea. But the way it's kind of broken out is you have on the left side, you have a little navigator bar, so you can choose date range, whether it's cash versus accrual, and then you can choose profit and loss accounts versus balance sheet accounts, and then you can drill in. When you select one of those, then it will give you all of the transactions that are in that date range into the main area there, and then you can then filter those transactions of what you can actually do with those transactions in the main work area of the reclassify section.
So one of the issues that we have with both products, right, is reclassifying things that are an item code, because item codes are mapped in the background. So
right,
we can, if it's class only and it's connected to an item code, if you're now cleaning up by class and you want to say what service, sales, ... overhead, so forth, this can just simply grab those transactions and put them in the class. That might be all you need. But
so one nod to QuickBooks Desktop is that you can actually reclassify the To Account. So if you put them in the wrong bank account, for example, like these are checks and you went into the wrong bank account, you can modify the To Account as well as, or the From account as well as the To Account. So that's how they verbalize that on the screen here. QuickBooks Online doesn't allow you to do the From account. So if you put everything, if you wrote a bunch of checks out of the wrong bank account, well then there's other ways to handle that, but in QuickBooks Online, but you can't use the Reclassify tool to do that. So that's just kind of an overview of the desktop version of the Reclassify tool. So I will stop your sharing and share on my screen. All right, so here we have the sample company in QuickBooks Online, and then it's under the accountant tools and Reclassified Transaction. So same kind of concept where you have the different account types, and then you can search for those accounts. You have date filters, and here you can filter for customers and vendors and what you can actually modify. So if we chose some pest control services, this will give us a list. And then you could filter within those. You can also sort as well in here. And then when you choose to reclassify, you can change the account to, I didn't turn on classes and locations, but you can also do class and location. You used to not be able to do locations, just only the class. So you can reclassify the location, which the location may not be the location. It could be department, whatever you call the top portion of the transaction that you are categorizing in QuickBooks Online. So that's kind of the overview there of the online version.
And it also does not let you touch item codes, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So you don't have the ability to reclassify a transaction to a different account if there's an item used on that transaction, product or service. So in order to do that, then you're going to need to modify the actual item itself. So that's one way to change the account. Now QuickBooks Online has this funny nuance that's with it when you're modifying an account on a service or non-inventory item. So when you edit the account or edit the item, you have this income account that changes here. So you want to choose it to a different income account. Now, if you didn't catch that, also update this account on historical transactions, this checkbox. All you would be doing by saving and closing would be modifying future transactions. But if you don't catch that, then it doesn't seem to change your reports, and then it gets very, very frustrating. Like, wait a minute, I changed it. Well, you didn't choose this checkbox or see this checkbox to choose it. And then when you saved it, so then you have to go back, change it back, put it back, change it back to the original one, basically toggling the income account. And then when you change it back again, just make sure you're looking for that. Also update this account on historical transactions with regards to being able to update the original transactions. Now, it only will do that. It's an all or nothing, right? There's no like date range that you can choose to say, okay, this transaction, don't modify that with past 1/1 of this year or something like that. Now, does Desktop allow you to do that, or
well,
you were kind of playing around with that?
Yeah, I remember that it does do that, but I think it's in just the payroll area where it gives you can pick the date to clean it up. Because in the payroll, I'm real funny. Right out the box, QuickBooks Desktop throws things into the word payroll expenses and payroll liabilities. Well, I really want to know, is it the liability for the federal tax, the state tax? Is it SUTA, FUTA, blah, 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 all those fun acronyms? Is it salaries? Is it bonus? Is it payroll tax expense? I want to know the details, officer wages and so forth. So I'll go in and I do a big cleanup. The thing that I would be careful of, and I'm going to explain how it works in Desktop so you can say how it works in QBO, is if it changes a balance sheet, then you're kind of in big trouble. If it's just cleaning it up and you know that those numbers aren't going to change, then go for it. But if it's just taking $10,000 and breaking it out into, some of it is federal, state, unemployment, so what, right? Same thing on P&L. So what? It's just cleaning it up for comparative purposes. But if it's going to make some kind of a big sweep where you have to redo taxes, so be careful of that. Now it will. So if okay, I only want it to fix, I've got the books are what they are, good, bad, the ugly. Then in payroll, it will ask you that date. Now, when I was experimenting with it in 2021 for items, I thought it did the same thing there. But the only way it stopped me was if I had that close date set and it says, wait a minute, these are reconciled, this is not a good idea, it would warn me.
So it didn't stop you, it just warned you with regards to when you changed that, and you had a closing date set on your file.
And it warned me and the words they used scared me, so I got out. But what I like about it is when you are setting up a new file, and often customers for inventory they get mixed up about the sales, the cost of goods, and the inventory. And so the first thing I do is I add those columns to the item codes and I make sure they're right. And when you finally fix that, they'll get better, reports. But be careful. You may have to just clean it up and then see how it affects the taxes and then go from there. But just it's pretty slick the way it works, especially on payroll item codes. I love it there.
Yeah. So it's a good best practice, maybe, especially in Desktop, to back up your data, make a damage control plan, back up your data. So that way, at least if it does modify a closed period, you can make your adjustments if it modified it to a point where you didn't necessarily want to see that. So the other options that you have with regards to editing accounts on, in items is merging accounts. So you have the option of merging those accounts. So if you have two, and what you would want to, what would be the case and where you would want to merge accounts, Carrie?
Well, if you have created duplicates and office expense and office supplies is the same thing, pull them together, that kind of thing. I mean, a danger could be just like I explained how I like to do auto, gas repairs, maintenance, da 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 da. Let's just say I merged all that together. Ugh, what a mess. So be careful. Like he was saying, with desktop, you can back it up before you go in and clean like I do. I clean like a hurricane. And when it's done, it's beautiful. But, I also get, especially with my own books, I'm like, I've got this. So
Throw caution to the wind.
throw caution to the wind, but do a backup because there's nothing worse than going, oh, oops, merging two things that might have started with the same letter and you're going really fast. That's not good. You might need insurance broken out and you've got them all ugly. So
so the same kind of cautionary tale with regards to merging accounts is you can't undo that. QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Online, you don't have a built-in backup, so you can add on, backup services to have a restore point to be able to roll back in case you do that. But also, nothing is actually ever deleted like it is in desktop. So if you merge accounts in desktop, those transactions or those accounts are, the winning account remains and the losing account is gone. Like it reduces the number of accounts on your chart of accounts. In QuickBooks Online, they become inactive. So that account is still there. You can reactivate it, but the transactions, of course, are not there. But then you could go back to the Reclassify tool and put it back there if you needed to. So there are ways around to undo what you did in the live data, but ideally, you want to add a backup service or something like that. Or if you're using QuickBooks Online Advanced, it's already there, as Chronobooks is now part of QuickBooks Online Advanced.
Right.
So another way to reclassify transactions is just using the bank feeds in general, because you can use those rules to be able to do that. Now, we talked a little bit about these in desktop last workshop Wednesday when we talked about what's new in 2021. Again, now that's live, so now 2021 is available for customer purchase. So the bank feeds that are in desktop 2021 are available, but using bank feeds is a real cool way to just automate your work. So if you set up those rules in QuickBooks Online or desktop, those transactions as they come in from the bank feeds are automatically going to be renamed and categorized and classified already up there.
Now,
so you want, go ahead.
I do have to say something about bank feeds. So bank feeds are like, it's kind of like a cat, right? If you do, and speaking of cats, yours always make appearances. Mine is extremely obnoxious right now. So I'm going to see how long I can ignore him, but I might have to walk away from the screen to let him in. But anyway, I hope not. But one thing I found with bank feeds that is really tough is if you have manual entries like checks, or even checks that well, I guess if you print them, they're fine. But if you haven't printed them, you grab a check and you manually write it, it causes a problem. So what you want to do is make sure before you roll on up in the bank feed area that you've managed those checks, because I have, and I know you're going to tell me something, so hold on to your thought. If you don't do that, you can roll in and grab all those checks, and if you say, yes, make that a rule, and the name of it is check, it makes every single new check Office Depot expenses, and they can be anything, and then you have to go fix them. So I think you told me there's some way to stop that from happening.
Yeah, QuickBooks Desktop already creates a rule to not do that.
Yippee!
So
desktop win!
Every time that there is a generic point of sale POS purchase or debit card transaction that comes in from the bank feed itself, check is a very common one, because the banks don't know who the vendor is or who the payee is, so they just put check number 1052.
Right.
So when it starts to learn that, okay, well, this check number is, and you don't change the payee to the actual payee, or you do change that payee, you'll go, oh, if it's a check, then clearly anytime that check comes in, it must be Home Depot. And of course, that that's not what you want to have happen, is to rename all your check payees Home Depot.
There's another thing too. The same idea. If you have not handled the proper workflow with your deposits, we often see new pro advisors get into trouble. They're grabbing the bank feed, or customers. They're grabbing the bank feed and they're calling that sales and doubling their income, and the bank recs are a disaster. So that's the main reason you want to make sure every time you do a bank rec, you're really investigating anything that's outstanding, because it could be a duplicate, but it usually originates from the bank feed and those rules. So I don't know if there's any tricks, because I remember working with you on one of those. I was like, this is terrible. Trying to catch those so they don't fall through. Maybe call them, like, ask my accountant, or reclassify this, or somehow grab them so they don't go slamming into your register as sales when they've already been recorded as a sale on an invoice.
Yeah,
So
I have a client who's there's always like one or two that slip through. He creates daily sales, and if he's ahead of, or if he missed a day from his store and not putting in the daily sales, and then the bank fee comes in, it starts to, well, last time you said it went to merchant deposits. Well, it's not. It's just supposed to match to his daily sales, and sometimes it doesn't match, and then it goes into the wrong account. So it's just some time to be able to catch up to that, and be aware what your customers' workflows typically are, and how the bank feeds might impact that. So QuickBooks Desktop does not allow you to undo and pull out those transactions that may have been gotten automatically categorized to the wrong account. But QuickBooks Online does allow you to do that. So nod to QuickBooks Online with the bank feeds. So
yeah. One of the things that I find when you're getting a new customer and you know that they have made a disaster of their file, is do look at those deposits. If anyone ever says to you, it says I'm making all this money and I'm not, that's usually what it is.
Yeah.
So make sure you get a good workflow and instructions if they're going to help you with that. Like you said, every now and then one slips through. But that's one way to, to show that what you're doing. Really carefully look at those deposits, because if they're not making money, that they might not be able to pay you, but you want to at least, have some value.
Yeah. And that will usually come up in a question of like, okay, well, it looks like we're making a lot of money. Where is it?
Yeah.
And this might be I can't think of the word. Is like this is just the workflow that you have to be able, as part of investigating where did that money go. And Mara asked a question: do the 2021 bank feeds that are redesigned like QBO connect like QBO now? Basically, still having to download files if you're using the Web Connect connection, or initiate the update through the direct connection. The answer is kinda.
It's better. So try it, Mara.
It's better. So there are like Capital One, for example. It depends on the bank, is really what it boils down to. Capital One does allow you to do an express Web Connect connection, which is you still need to initiate the connection, but it will do that automatically. You have to sync your Intuit login with the bank in order for that to happen. Other banks, depending on, so there's three types of connections. Web Connect, which is you go out, you download a file, you import it into your QuickBooks. Direct Connect, which is a two-way communication, which typically involves a fee with the bank. But that allows you just to click a button, put in a password, and it will do all of your accounts for that bank. And then there's an express connection, which is you tie your Intuit login to the bank and then initiate the connection. But still, all three of those are initiated by you. It doesn't automatically do that
It's way better
like
than
QBO does.
it's
So,
better.
kind of, sort of.
It's better.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
Getting better.
The bank feeds the bank feeds in 2021 are much improved. So if that's the only reason to upgrade, that is a reason to upgrade because they'll have a better experience if they're using the bank feeds in desktop at all.
And one thing to circle back on what I was talking about with the double up the income, which is a common issue. When you're meeting with the client and you might even be a new pro advisor, use the words undeposited funds, reconciliation, doubling your sales. Those three things, write those down. And that will help you show that you will, of course, understand it, which we have a blog on undeposited funds. We'll drop that in there.
Yeah. We did a workshop Wednesday on it as well. So, where we walk through some of the options. I mean, the biggest thing that's a dead giveaway is if you see deposits. If you run
Same amount.
you run your profit and loss, and you see the transaction type of deposits directly into into revenue, that is a dead giveaway that it came in from the bank feed. It may be legitimate. You have deposits that do that, but that's a usual suspect of looking at that.
Then the other way to check is to say, let me see, when was the last time you reconciled your bank account? Let's look and open it up and see and pretend you're doing the next month and look and see how many items are outstanding. Because if they have a ton, like $50,000 worth of outstanding deposits that are not real, they're going to run into the hole. It's going to be bad. So you want to.
So your client's workflow, or at least what they should be doing. If it's invoice, payment, deposit, then if you see a deposit right into their bank account, that might be or right into their revenue, they're skipping over what their normal workflow should be, and that's where you get to have that conversation.
And look at
get the wag of the finger from the accountant or bookkeeper.
And look at their accounts receivable and they go, our accounts receivable, and they'll go in and delete invoices and all kind of nonsense. So you want to make sure that the open AR is accurate. Like at the end of a cleanup, does this look like, do these people still owe you this money? And if they don't, there's a problem.
And now you have some tools to be able to make that cleanup job faster by using the Reclassify tool, or editing the items, or merging the items, or using the bank feed. So we dropped in the blog article that we wrote and about highlighting these tools at a high level. And of course, at School of Bookkeeping, we'll be having these tools in a little deeper dive. So join us there. We have free trials. Give us a try. And we'll see you next week for another Workshop Wednesday.
Sounds great. See you next week. Do we have our topic yet? Or we're going to...
It's a surprise.
Okay, we'll make it a surprise.
Right. Because you have to tune in.
That's right. Tune in.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Have a great week.